We are live. All right. Got it. Got it. Sorry. This meeting is being live streamed. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Proverbial Masterminds. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Sherry, and this is my co-host, Erin Harrigan. And every week we come together to explore the book of Proverbs because that is the avenue we have decided to pursue since November of 2020 to be able to seek God's wisdom, which there's a lot more places in the Bible to look than Proverbs, but Proverbs is the book known for wisdom. So that's where we wanted to start. And so every week we come together and we talk about the last 7 verses that we've read. We read 1 verse a day. So we are currently this week, we are reviewing Proverbs chapter 13, verses 4 through 10.
Here we are. Okay, so Sherry, do you want to read it this
Sure.
time? Let us know what version you're reading from.
I am reading from my itty bitty NKJV that's like beat up. The Bible.
Do it.
Look at this.
It's well used. Every Bible should be well used.
All right. Let's
If it's
see.
perfect, it's not working.
That's right.
Well, it's working. We're not working it.
We're not working it.
Yes.
Okay. So chapter 13 of the book of Proverbs. This is written by King Solomon, who is the son of King David. So just for some historical context there, verses 4 through 10. The soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. A righteous man hates lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and comes to shame. Righteousness guards him whose way is blameless, but wickedness overthrows the sinner. There is one who makes himself rich, yet has nothing, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches. Sorry, I lost my space. The ransom of a man's life is his riches, but the poor does not hear rebuke. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will be put out. By pride comes nothing but strife, but with the well-advised is wisdom. Okay, so can I just say I have a question?
Do it.
Maybe you have an answer for.
I don't know.
Because I looked up a couple of different commentaries and I still don't get it. I feel like, what movie was that? Where the guy was like, I don't get it. And he's like making fun of me. He's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get that because I don't know
like,
what movie that is.
He's like, what don't you get? I don't understand. I feel like God is like, what don't you get? So here, verse 8.
Yeah. So you're going to verse 8 first. That's where you're starting.
That's where I'm starting. I don't know what that means.
The ransom of a man's life is his riches, but the poor does not hear rebuke. So here we go. So I'm in my commentary, and let me address that question first. So what he says here is a rich man. This is talking about. He's saying that these situations are all centered around this idea of accumulation of wealth, and that someone living this says ostentatiously may well be a poor person trying to compensate for an inferiority complex, basically, while an impoverished looking individual could actually be a wealthy man. Both situations are well known. And then it says a rich man who is kidnapped can buy his release, right? But a poor man need not fear such an eventuality. That's what this says for verses 7 and 8. And so I think
the NIV say, what does that say anything different?
I will tell you what the yes, just a moment, please. So I just want to give a shout out. They are not paying me for this. To the YouVersion Bible app or the Blue Letter Bible, because you can see these verses, you can see the word in many different versions. And I think that it helps you to grasp the language a little bit better. So what in the NIV, the New International Version, it says a person's riches may ransom their life, but the poor cannot respond to threatening rebukes.
So the English Standard Version says the ransom of a man's life is his wealth. So the ability to ransom himself, right? But a poor man doesn't even hear the threat.
Right.
That one makes the most sense to me.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, like it's kind of like Biggie Smalls, mo money, mo problems. Right?
Right.
Just saying, like,
Look at you bringing out the rapper.
yeah, the more money you have, the more likelihood that people are going to want your money.
Yeah. And I would extrapolate that, if that's the right word, to say, don't store up your riches on earth. Our riches, our true eternal riches are stored in heaven. Mm-hmm. So the more that we're buying into, and there's nothing wrong with money, before we get any haters who are like, oh, you have money mindset issues. No. The point is the love of money is the evil part, not that money is, right? And so it, throughout Proverbs, it's talked about the wealthy or the rich and how they tend to show up. And I think it's fascinating because, Solomon was one of the richest people to ever live. Mm-hmm. And in the latter part of his life, he strayed from following the Lord completely. But I don't believe that when you read about him, that you read that he was showing up, haughty, that he was showing up prideful, and yet he was wealthy. And by the way, what did he ask for? He asked for wisdom. And God gave him wisdom and wealth. Right.
Yeah, because he asked for wisdom and not wealth.
That's right. Right.
It reminds me on my podcast episode the other day, I did, what was it? When you feel like a failure, was that it? Anyway, I don't know, but I talked about King Midas. And King Midas, as the mythology goes, was a very wealthy king. Mm-hmm. He wanted more. He wanted more because it was not enough. And he wanted to be the most impressive person because of all of the things he possessed. And so he asked to be everything that he touched would turn to gold. Yep. Well, then he couldn't eat because his food turned to gold.
Yes.
And his beloved daughter went to hug him and she turned to gold. And then it was then that he, had this kind of colloquially come to Jesus moment and said, no, I don't want that. Right. So that's a good point. I think that I think about this all the time. I ask myself, is what I'm pursuing eternal? Or is what I'm pursuing, can it burn up? Because if it can burn up, it's the wrong thing to pursue.
Yes.
Like, so as believers, let's back up one verse to verse 7. There is one who makes himself rich, yet has nothing, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches. So that just further exemplifies what we're talking about. When you place your value in your worth and your net worth, which can be easily stripped from you, taken away in a moment.
Yes.
Right. Or compromise your wisdom, because people know that you have money. And so then they're going to get you to do certain things, right? Because you have money, you're going to get other people to do certain things. So there's all of this compromise that comes along, which is not wisdom, which is not God's wisdom. It's this kind of like, not, I know that's going down a rabbit hole, but potentially it's the dying of one's life because money holds you hostage.
Yeah.
Right. And I was going somewhere with that before I said, let's back up a verse.
Well, I think that we were talking about, if we're pursuing something that can burn up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think about that. And so as believers, that's what I was going to say. As believers, we don't pursue money. We pursue to serve the Lord, whether that's as an employee, self-employed, whatever that looks like, in all of that, we serve the Lord, not ourselves. And when we do that, he provides for us. We see this constantly throughout scripture. He provides for us.
Right.
We even talked about it last week. And he provides for us because we operate in a world system. He provides for us in monetary ways because we don't live in a barter society where, hey, can I have a camel for 4 chickens or whatever?
Right. Right.
Right. So we operate on money, but money is not what we pursue.
Correct.
I pursue the opportunity to serve and show God's light, not my light, God's light, to other people through what he made me to do. And in that process, this brings me back, Aaron. I recall doing a podcast episode with you a couple years ago. And I was sitting in the Target parking lot. I remember I was crying. when you were interviewing me, but I can't remember verbatim now, but I said something and it had become my prayer. But it was something like, I have always been, I will always be, I am always provided for, so long as, do you remember that?
I think so.
So long as you included it in your show notes. I think I need to go back and look it up, but so long as I am walking in the purpose that he has for me. And so whether that's serving as an employee or an employer, we don't need to worry about the things of this world. We don't need to worry about whether or not we're going to have enough because he's going to provide for us. It might mean that we don't have what we want, but we're going to have what we need. Right.
Yes.
And sometimes that what we want, what we think we need is stripped away and revealed as an actual want. That's what my life experience has been.
Yes.
There was once upon a time, a lot of things that I thought, and now I'm like, dude, man, you could just give me my car and some gas and my dogs and I'd be happy.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. And I think it goes back to also this idea of what we are content with, because I think the world is so noisy about the more, right? And I think we've twisted it in some ways to be like, well, but if I have more, I can give more. And that is true. And
but that is true of money.
Right. It's true of money. Maybe. And where are we content, right? Where can we be content? The Apostle Paul says that he is content, whether he is suffering or whether, he had wealth, and where we can be content. And I think coming back to this Proverbs piece, what my commentary says is that this chapter 13 contrasts the wise son who accepts and absorbs his father's teaching.
Yeah.
And the mocking son who dismisses any attempted guidance, because the latter can never benefit from wisdom because he's dismissed its reality and thus is in the same position as a person who denies God's existence. And if you're denying his existence, if you're not following, you cannot, this might be tough love if anybody, you cannot make the same, you cannot trust the same promise that you were always provided for, because who's providing for you? Right? So you were just saying a minute ago, and I was thinking about this earlier this week, the Lord provides. I was just praying this yesterday, Lord, you provide whatever you want, whatever it looks like. I trust that you provide. And then, like you said, it starts to peel away these things, what are our needs versus our wants?
Yeah.
And in this also, where it compares, this idea of that a rich person could pay for his ransom, but a poor person couldn't, or, someone could be living large, but they really are poor.
Yeah.
Even Dave Ramsey talks about in some of his books about everyday millionaires and how they're not driving luxury cars. They don't have luxury homes, not because they couldn't, but because they choose not to, because where are they really putting their time, their energy, and their effort? I know for me in my own personal story that I earned the car bonus in the company that I was part of and still part of, but not at that level. And I was living large, driving around in my Mercedes, 45 days behind on my mortgage.
Say that. Oh my gosh. I love your vulnerability.
And I couldn't tell anybody that because what would they think? And nor could we sell the house. Like, first of all, the market was awful. We tried selling the house 3 times, right? But like, I think the point of that, when I look back at it, is God was like, learn the lesson. Like, this is not going to be an easy fix. You're going to sell the house and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. No. So, what are we really provided for? And what does that mean for us? And how can we be content in that?
Yeah. And that takes me, so, in so many different places, scripture talks about how, we don't, we don't think like God thinks, and
Oh, no.
we can't fathom, his plans and how we can make plans, but it's the Lord who establishes our steps and all of that.
Yeah.
If you go down to verse 9, this revelation just kind of came to me. Verse 9, the light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will be put out. The light of the righteous rejoices because it's constantly fueled from the source of everything, from the source that's created and holds everything together.
Yes.
He is the literal well that never runs dry. God, Jesus, the creator of the universe, is the one who is the source of that light for the righteous. But for the wicked, their light, and you hear a lot of people talk about their light, right? And even I think back to, you remember that little song we'd sing in
This
Sunday
little
school?
light of mine.
Yeah, this little light of mine, but maybe it should have been this little light of God's. I'm gonna let it shine.
But then it didn't rhyme.
I know it doesn't rhyme, but it's truer. Anyway, it's
yes.
So the thing is that so Jesus is the bread of life, right? The righteous, I have never seen the righteous forsaken or go hungry. Why? Because Jesus is the bread of life, right? So even if you're physically hungry, that strength is poured into your light, which then emanates into others.
That's right.
Such that it doesn't go out. It can't go out. There is no canceling. There is no mockery. There is no trolling. There is no nothing that can make that light snuff out.
Amen.
But for the wicked, when your light is from your own source, your own understanding, which, hey, if you haven't realized in the last 43 episodes, our own understanding leads to disaster and mayhem. Okay. So
mayhem.
Mayhem. So the point is, if you're relying on your own wisdom, your own light, this own special, there's this kind of culture that says we want to make people feel special, and we are special. You're beloved. God knows the numbers of hairs on your head. You
That's
are
right.
Special. You're here for a reason.
Yes,
right?
yes.
He created you for a purpose, on purpose, and the world needs you. Yes, but he needs you to share what he has given you to share, not what you have created.
Yes.
Okay. So when we do that, when we lean into that, we do not ever go out.
No.
But and here's why this is important, and it's so relevant. So social media is a breeding ground for, it's a cultivation of the light of our own understanding. That's what social media is. And here's why. Because it glorifies the pursuit. So going back to this pursuit, what are we pursuing? It glorifies the pursuit of collection. collection of followers,
Mm.
collection of brand ambassadors, collection of money to keep saying, doing. And I thought about this and I thought, I'm just going to say it. I might regret it. I might regret it in my flesh.
Drop it.
I never want to be an influencer because I never want somebody holding money over my head to make me compromise my message.
Mm.
And make no mistake, if your goal is followers and to become an influencer and to get money just for having an Instagram account and sharing content, any third-party payer is going to influence you as the influencer.
Yes.
They're going to say, no. Well, you said you'd promote our products. And then they're going to come up with a product that you're like, oh, I don't know that I want to promote that. But guess what? Now you're under contract.
Right.
Or whatever it is.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that could go on and on and on. But the point is, like, if you are being diligent to work as unto the Lord in whatever he's given you to do, he will provide for you and you will be rich in ways that you could not even imagine.
That's right.
That's what I get from this passage.
That's right. And I'll just take it to the next one, which is, by pride comes nothing but strife, right? Being prideful of these things and the stuff and the followers and right, brings nothing but strife. So, just in vulnerability, when we were going through all of that, we were in a massive financial crisis.
Yeah.
And God has delivered us through that. It's been 5.5 years and I'm just blown away by what he has done because he is so merciful and because we were obedient. But the second part of that verse 10 says, but with the well-advised is wisdom. So as we're walking in wisdom, listen, it doesn't mean we're never going to mess up. It doesn't mean that we are going to stumble. We are perfect. Human. We are, there is no perfection here. But the difference is, and I love what you were saying about the influencer, because I like to think of myself as a kingdom influencer, not because of me, but because like God is my brand.
Yeah.
So whatever he gives me to do or talk about or promote, like clearly it's right and of great worth.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to go into these things wise. Life situations and business situations. And the only way to have wisdom is to be in the word. That's why we're studying it.
That's what it means to be well advised.
To be well advised.
This.
Yes.
But I love that too, because this brings up two things for me. By pride comes nothing but strife. So the other day, my flesh was like, oh, it's so frustrated. Nobody's seeing my stuff anyway. What, my stuff? Oh, that's pride. And what did it lead to in me emotionally? Strife. So I'm like, okay, I just need to walk away. I just need to let that go. Just let that be there for a little bit. So yeah, and social media is a cultivation ground for pride.
For sure.
Just is.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's something to that, Erin. We should talk about that. We should talk about developing a study guide, a resource, something for believers. Entrepreneurial believers on social media. Guarding against pride and being well advised.
Yeah.
I think,
and that doesn't mean stepping back and not marketing your product, your service, your business, or whatever, but it absolutely can be done in a God honoring and glorifying way.
Yeah. And I'd like to, I don't know if we're at time, we kind of are. So, but I'd like to end with some encouragement here. verse 6, if we back up, says righteousness guards him whose way is blameless. So again, to allude to what you just said, reference what you just said, it doesn't mean blameless doesn't mean that you're
Sinless.
perfect. It doesn't mean that you're sinless. It
Right.
means that there is one who has taken the blame for you,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
you are guarded. You are
Guarded.
protected. You are guarded. Your steps are protected. Your heart is protected. Your soul is protected. Your eternity is protected. You're guarded.
You're guarded. Always protected and provided for.
That's right.
I love it. You know what I love most? I love that we come together to have this conversation. Sometimes we know what we're going to say. Sometimes we don't. And yet the Holy Spirit is always here.
Yeah.
And guiding us. So whatever it was we talked about, one of us needed that, or one of you watching needed that.
Yeah.
And that is just how incredible is our God to just know that.
To consider us. Who are we that you should be
consider us.
mindful of us, that to join us here on this
Yes.
podcast that we have, not even podcast, YouTube show that we might have 5 subscribers.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but this is how good he is.
This is how good he is.
So next week we're still in 13. We're going to be verses 11 through 17.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to count by hand.
I do too.
7.
I do too.
11 through 17. And still continuing on this, comparison of words and deeds. And this is it's good. It's good stuff. So don't miss it. 2:00 next Friday. Be here.